how to validate the boundary conditions of your simulations. After more than 12 years working with different customers around the world, I constantly see the doubts on the eyes of my colleagues. As we saw in previous video, the definition of the correct boundary conditions is going to be crucial to guarantee the good performance of our simulations. Well, more than a good performance, I should say the real behavior that represents the physical problem we are trying to solve, right? Well, in this series of videos on boundary conditions, my goal is to wake up your instincts and the right questions inside your mind every time you set up a simulation. Because as I always say, we are 100% responsible of our simulations. Not the software, not the artificial intelligence, none of that. We are the ones who do the reflections in advance for what we expect from the simulation, and when we get the results, we'll check if our hypotheses are confirmed or not. In previous video, we were checking the influence of using fixed restrictions versus roller slider plus hinge to be closer to the real problem we were trying to represent. But I need to check a couple of more points with you and show you what is the final configuration that will give us the correct results. Okay, subscribe if you haven't yet, and let's get into it. Hi, Carlos here. And for those of you who don't know me yet, I've been more than 12 years validating real engineering FEE projects across different industries. So I created my validation method to train FEA the way industry actually demands. You will find all the details in the description below. Now let's continue reviewing concepts of that methodology. Okay, let's continue with the evaluation of this model. Just a quick reminder. After doing the adjustment of the boundary conditions, we had here the hinge constraint in the top to allow the rotation around the lateral direction, okay, and the roller slider in the bottom where the fork is touching with the extractor. For the ones that didn't watch the previous video, I will leave you the link below so you can follow all the development process. Okay, my question now is, do we believe in these results? If I look at the top hinge, I believe in that behavior. But here in the contact with the extractor at the bottom, I have some doubt. Of course, as we are not restricting the rotations, we can appreciate a little bit more of movement here, right? But in order to be 100% sure, let's compare these two models. Very quick. I'm comparing just the stress plot with the superimpose of the deformed shape, and from this point of view, I don't see much differences, right? In theory, if we are releasing degrees of freedom in the bottom model with the new boundary conditions, we should see higher deformations, right? So let's check the displacement. I will activate them here in the top. I will show up the max annotation, okay, and in the bottom placements and show max annotation. Okay, we can see that using this configuration, the maximum displacement value has increased around 0.36 millimeters. Okay, more displacement is what we were expecting, right? But this quantity only, 0.36 millimeters? Let's think for a second. By definition, the roller slider is restricting the translation in the direction that we define. Exactly, the complete direction. So it's not allowing the translation to the extractor, but also is restricting the translation to the opposite side. And this is not 100% correct. Let me show you the extractor plane. Well, if we look at it, here we have the extractor plane that I created virtually. And if we look from the side, we can see how the roller slider here is limiting the relative rotation movement between the fork and the frame, since we are restricting both sides of the direction. Let me explain it a little bit better. I will move to the complete model. Okay, here we are. What we really need to define here is the restriction on the side where the fork contacts the frame. However, we shouldn't restrict the opposite movement, where the fork could detach from the frame, because as we saw, this can rotate around this axis, so the fork is not restricted in the longitudinal direction to move from the extractor towards the front. Therefore, we shouldn't restrict the opposite movement where the fork could detach from the frame. Okay, and how do we do this? I don't want to enter into the contact definition yet, since it's too early for this series of videos, but here I will do one exception. Let's go back to our fork analysis. Okay, I'm going to do a copy of this study and I will call it adjust number 2. Okay, here we are. What I'm going to do here is to delete the roller slider. So I go to my simulation menu, roller slider, right click and select delete. And what we really need here is to block the displacement in this direction, but not in the opposite direction. To do that, I go to connections, right click and select local interaction. I will go deeper into contact interactions, of course, in next videos. Contact interactions are crucial to define correctly how the components interact with each other in any of our assembly simulation. Okay, here I'm going to the drop down menu and I'm going to select the virtual wall interaction. And for this type of contact, what the software is requesting is a face or any edge or vertex and then the target plane. So we are going to select the region of our fork where it's touching the extractor, and then for the plane I'm going to select my extractor plane that I previously defined and showed you before. Good. Basically, this interaction is going to act like a wall. That's all. Our component will not penetrate in that plane, but it won't restrict the opposite movements. And this is exactly what we are looking for here. I will press OK to accept this definition. Good. Now, as we modify the contact interactions, the software is warning us about the mesh. So we need to remesh again. So I go to mesh, create mesh, and accept. And now we are ready to run. So I will run this study. And here we have the results. What we can see. For the moment, not significant differences, right? Let's use the plot that I prepared with the superimposed and deformed shape. This one. And now we also have the plane that is helping us to understand better the deformation. So let's animate this plot. And if we look from the side, here we see how the fork is rotating and the deformation is much more realistic, right? So we can see this deformation. We can appreciate how now it is just touching as if it was in the complete extractor model. So here it's pushing and here it's moving towards the front of the vehicle. This is a realistic behavior. This is a correct representation of the real problem we are trying to solve here. Let's continue. I will exit from here. Now let's compare the results. First, I will compare the stress plot with the superimposed shape. Okay, here we have them. Looking at the deformed shape, I think that this picture speaks for itself, right? We can see how previously with the roller slider we were supposed to not restrict the rotation, but indirectly we were restricting the relative rotation along the vertical part of the body. But now with the new contact interaction type wall, we are able to represent correctly the behavior of our simulation. Let me know in the comments if this makes sense for you. Good. Let's take a look at the displacements. I will activate the displacements for the top and for the bottom model. What we see? Now we see a significant difference, right? We are talking about around 6 millimeters of difference, which is a lot. In terms of percentage, it's like an increment of around 60% approximately. And this is a lot. And most important thing, this can be dangerous. When we are working with this type of heavy-duty vehicles, we have requirements that the stress value are not achieving the yield. But another important restriction sometimes is the maximum displacement of the components. Basically, this is because these extractors need to be robust enough to guarantee a stability when moving heavy loads from one location to the other, without moving more than necessary. Therefore, by this little misunderstanding in the boundary condition definition, we would report a wrong displacement which will cause a significant impact in the validation of the extractor. As I said before, my goal with all of this is to wake up your instincts and the right questions inside your mind, so every time you set up a simulation, you will think about it. Am I doing it right? Because this is the engineering judgment that you are going to need in your real job. These kind of details will make the difference in having a correct simulation or something unrealistic. So it's worth paying close attention when we define our simulation model. In next video, we will continue investigating new scenarios with you to polish your criteria when defining boundary conditions. As always, the philosophy here is to bring you the content to help you think with the correct engineering mindset. And if you want to make the difference and learn how to actually apply all of this in real engineering projects using my validation method, you can find all the details in the description below. Subscribe if you haven't yet. See you in next simulation.